How's a lack of sleep dragging the whole family down these days? It turns out setting a family sleep routine could be the key to success for everyone, from the youngest kids to the most stressed out adults. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Tamsen Fidel.
I'm Corey Chambers, and for Aaron A. We all know that sleep is really critical to overall health, but it's also often the first thing to be sacrificed when people try to keep up with busy schedules.
It sure is. A sleep doctor, Dr. Michael Bruce, joining us now with his tips to create healthy sleep habits for the entire family. Nice to see you. How are you?
Always great to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's talk about this. What does it mean? How important is it, I guess, to have a sleep routine for adults and for kids?
So the analogy that I like to use is you got to have some runway to land the plane. You know what I'm saying? Like, sleep's not an on-off switch. It's more like slowly pulling your foot off the gas and slowly placing your foot on the brake. It takes a little bit of time for your body to get ready for sleep, and you can do quite a few things to help that process along.
All right, sleep hygiene, a big part of this. So explain what exactly that is, and what are the elements of it?
So sleep hygiene as a general guideline has to do with things like keeping your room dark, keeping it cool, keeping it quiet, many of the things that we kind of already know. But when we've got young ones, sometimes that can go in a few different directions. So one of the things I talk about is take about a half an hour right before when lights out would be for your child. By the way, you want to have a very consistent bedtime. It's close to the same time as you possibly can be 7 nights a week. That's always going to be important. Exercising daily is going to be good, but don't do it too close to bed. That can raise your core body temperature up and make it quite difficult to sleep. Do yourself a favor in the morning, spend a little time in the sunlight. That actually helps turn off that melatonin faucet in your head. Also helps give you some energy for the day. Obviously, stay away from caffeine, you adults. In the later part of the day, of course, caffeine is not necessarily appropriate for children. Obviously, no alcohol for kids before bed, but especially for adults, you really want to slow that down. Maybe if you have 1 glass of wine with dinner type of thing, but you really don't want to go overboard. And of course, avoid very heavy meals too close to bedtime, because your body really wasn't made to digest lying down, more sitting or standing.
All right, well, let's talk about parents. Parents are incredibly sleep deprived. So how can they get some better sleep, not only to set a good example, because that's important, but also help their kids develop some good habits?
So what's the best part about this is educating your children on why sleep is so important, and then giving them the steps that they can be responsible for to help them fall asleep. This is a habit that can follow them throughout their lifetime, which can be very, very beneficial. Once again, children need to going to bed at roughly the same time each night. You don't want to have a lot of roughhousing or craziness before bed. Maybe have some time in between the last meal, usually about 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Try to use a type of a project or something like that, where it's reading, singing a song, doing your nightly prayers, whatever it happens to be for them. Getting them in that routine starts to settle the brain, which lowers anxiety and allows that natural sleep process to start to come through.
This all sounds wonderful, doctor, but I got to tell you, kids come home from school. Maybe they have sports after school. They get home. It's 4 or 5. You're slopping a meal together. It's 6 o'clock by the time you eat. It's now 7 o'clock. There's homework to be done. Bedtime should be 8 o'clock, but the homework's not there. It seems like there's always stuff going on, and the idea of, all right, we now have an hour to just sort of chill out and relax our minds. I don't know that people have that much time anymore.
So I think that's a fair point, and I don't think we need a whole hour. I think we can do it in 20 to 30 minutes. Again, if you have a routine that's reasonably efficient, it should be pretty easy to do. But there are also some tools that people can utilize that can make it a little bit easier. As an example, making sure that their environment is already ready for bed, meaning the lights are already down, maybe making sure that they have very comfortable mattress, maybe the child needs a new pillow. By the way, there are a lot of big sales going on coming up for mattresses and pillows. So if you're in the market, it's probably a good time to do something like that. But you don't have to have an hour. I would say 20 to 30 minutes can be workout, and even 10 minutes might work out if you have a child who's already so used to this that they can kind of calm themselves down, whether it's with a form of meditation or something like that.
I find it so interesting that I grew up at a time when people bragged about, like, I got 3 hours of sleep last night. I don't need sleep. I'll sleep when I die. So it's nice. It's refreshing to see this, pun intended. So beyond the regular sleep tips, are there any other ways that parents can help out and help kids and themselves? I know a lot of people wear the sleep trackers, but I don't know. Should kids do that?
Yeah, so it's a great question. One of the things we always want to be careful of is we don't want to necessarily flood kids with too much information.
Yeah.
Sleep trackers can be valuable, I think, at times. There are actually other tools that can be quite valuable. One of the things I'm using is something called an Apollo. This is a really interesting device. It's a vibratory device. It uses haptics to sort of lull your body to sleep. It's completely harmless. It's actually only beneficial. You wear it for a certain period of time, it actually helps you not only relax to fall asleep, but fall asleep a little bit more quickly as a general guideline.
All right, interesting stuff there. Dr. Bruce, thanks so much for joining us, talking some sleep. And for more sleep tips for the whole family, go to Dr. Michael Bruce on Instagram at The Sleep Doctor.